Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Tom Hartman. I am the Bureau Chief of Business Operations. I oversee our housing programs through our CDBG-DR, or Community Development Block Grant Disaster Recovery Funding allocations. I'm joined here today by my Deputy Bureau Chief, Audrey Irwin. Today, we're going to be talking about a couple things related to our 2023 and 2024 storms funding allocation. Go through the agenda real quick. It'll include a bit of a background on Florida Commerce, the purpose of this webinar, our purpose, and how we're organized in our mission to serve Floridians. This will be followed by an overview of the 2023 and 2024 storms outreach, our timeline, eligible communities, programs we intend to fund, and a timeline for the request for quote or request for quotes. We'll be issuing two in the coming future. Next slide, please. So as stated, the purpose of the webinar is that Florida Commerce endeavors to partner with world-class vendors to support the swift implementation of Florida's 2023 and 2024 action plan programs and activities. To support this goal, the purpose of today's webinar is to provide an overview of the 2023 and 2024 storms action plan and key program priorities, share scope highlights from Florida Commerce's request for quote issued on the state term contract, and communicate how Florida Commerce expects to ensure the best use of taxpayer dollars for maximum long-term disaster recovery impact. I'm going to turn it over to my Deputy Bureau Chief, Audrey Irwin. She's going to talk a little bit about our department mission and the programs that we intend to fund and carry out, maybe with your support, for the 2023 and 2024 storms funding allocation.
Thank you, Tom. Florida Commerce is the governor designated agency responsible for administering all HUD CDBG DR funding. OLTR supports communities following disasters by addressing long-term recovery needs, primarily in housing and infrastructure in Florida communities that have been impacted by disasters. CDBG DR funds are intended to be the last resort for addressing unmet needs after any and all sources of funding, including funds provided by FEMA, insurance funding, and SBA loans are exhausted. Funds are focused on serving the most vulnerable populations. Next slide, please. Florida Commerce has received a total allocation of more than $4 billion since 2017 to administer disaster recovery and mitigation funds to communities impacted by the following storms: Hermine and Matthew, Irma, Michael, Sally, Ian, and a mitigation set aside of $680 million. To date, Florida Commerce has dispersed more than $1.1 billion in funding to our communities. Next slide, please. The disasters covered by the 23 and 24 storms allocation are the following: Hurricane Idalia, a Cat 4 in August 2023, the North Florida tornadoes, Fibermore in May 2024, Hurricane Debbie, a Cat 1 in August 2024, Hurricane Helene, a Cat 4 in September 2024, and Hurricane Milton, a Cat 5 in October of 2024. Each of the hurricanes made landfall in Florida, bringing strong winds, heavy rainfall, and severe flooding to many parts of the state. The North Florida tornadoes also caused significant flooding and destruction. Next slide, please. On this slide, you will find some important dates regarding the 2023 and 2024 storms funding timeline. On January 16th, HUD announced that the state of Florida received more than $925 million in allocated funds to service the 47, 23, and 24 storms impacted Florida counties. Since January 16th, Florida Commerce staff held 70 meetings with 47 eligible counties that encompass listening sessions, public workshops, and public hearings. Specifically between January 16th and March 19th, Florida Commerce staff held listening sessions with all 47 impacted counties, as well as 12 community and stakeholder workshops across the state. 4 public hearings were also held in advance of submission of the State of Florida Action Plan for the 23 and 24 storms. A public comment period ran from March 19th to April 19th. On April 25th, the draft state action plan was submitted to HUD for review and approval. In June 2025, Florida Commerce received HUD's approval of its action plan. As mentioned by Alicia Bahena, the Florida Commerce Office of Long-Term Resiliency anticipates opening application cycles for subrecipient programs July 1st, 2025 as the process of securing a final grant agreement with HUD has now begun. Next slide, please. In the aftermath of 2023 and 2024 storms, HUD identified 22 most impacted and distressed or mid-counties. And the state of Florida, working with local communities, had a strong understanding of where additional need existed and identified an additional 25 mid-counties. Per the federal regulations, 80% of funding must be allocated to HUD-identified MIDs. A map depicting the MIDs follows this slide. The map and list of eligible counties is also available on the Florida Commerce 2023 and 2024 storms webpage. Next slide, please. Provided on this slide is an overview of our HUD and state mid-counties where all 70 listening sessions, workshops, and public hearings were conducted. Next slide. This slide portrays a breakdown of our proposed allocation where most of the funding will be allocated to our infrastructure and housing programs. These proposed allocations were focused due to the findings of the unmet needs assessment. Florida Commerce conducted this assessment where they found roughly 79% of the remaining 2023 and 2024 storms unmet needs are in the housing sector, and 4% in the infrastructure, and 17% in the economy. As the impact of these storms is relatively recent, recovery is ongoing, and all unmet needs may not be realized. As required by HUD, in addition to readily available data, Florida Commerce has conducted extensive outreach to citizens and residents, as well as local governments, to determine what needs are most urgent in the impacted counties. Prioritizing the state of Florida's most vulnerable populations in mid areas is the central focus of the state of Florida's action plan. And based on this assessment, it is clear that the current funding is insufficient to meet the total needs for the state, and funds must be prioritized towards implementation of housing programs and infrastructural needs. However, should HUD make additional funding available in the future, Florida Commerce may incorporate additional programs should unmet needs remain. Next slide. Effectively utilizing this limited federal funding across 47 counties and ensuring funding is directed towards the most urgent needs is paramount. Feedback provided to Florida Commerce through a stakeholder survey, stakeholder workshops, listening sessions, and public hearings with local governments expressed a great need for infrastructure projects. To address this need, a proposed allocation of $425 million to address unmet infrastructure needs would be distributed through two programs: the Infrastructure Repair Program, or the IRP, and the Hazard Mitigation Grant Match Program, or the HMGMP. Additionally, to repair storm damaged housing, increase housing stock, and reduce risk to existing housing, a proposed allocation of $434,124,300 to address housing unmet needs would be distributed to one housing program, the Housing Repair and Replacement Program. Next slide. As previously mentioned, the total allocation for the Infrastructure Repair Program is $400 million. The IRP is designed to fund infrastructure restoration and improvement projects in communities impacted by Hurricanes Idalia, Debbie, Helene, Milton, and/or the North Florida tornadoes. 15% of this allocation, which is $60 million, must be earmarked for mitigation work. Priority will be given to projects with the most impact, LMI benefit, and those in fiscally constrained counties. Eligible activities may include stormwater management projects, restoration or improvement of damaged infrastructure, and repairs to buildings essential to health, safety, and welfare of the community. Infrastructure projects may incorporate mitigation measures which help to increase resiliency and reduce future risk. Next slide. An important component of our disaster recovery infrastructure initiative is the Hazard Mitigation Grant Match Program. This program provides funds to finance the required 25% local match for projects funded by FEMA's Hazard Mitigation Grant Program, which is administered by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, or FDEM. HMGMP priority will be given to projects in fiscally strained counties and projects with the most impact and benefit to LMI communities. In conjunction with FEMA funds, the HMGMP funds allow the awarded units of general local government to finance necessary and significant infrastructure projects that they may not otherwise have had the monetary means to complete. Common uses are home buyout, structural elevation, localized flood risk reduction, infrastructure retrofitting, and post-disaster code enforcement. Projects must meet both FEMA and HUD requirements to be eligible for HMGMP funding. Next slide. The total allocation for the HRP, or the Housing Repair and Replacement Program, is $434,124,300. The program is designed to repair, reconstruct, or replace homes impacted by the 2023 and 2024 storms, including multifamily homes and mobile homes. The unmet needs assessment identified more than $3 billion in housing sector needs. With the need so far exceeding funds, Florida Commerce will prioritize most vulnerable homeowners and property owners. Vulnerability factors include income, disability, age, and living within a mid-identified area. At a minimum, 70% of allocated funds must meet the LMI national objective. Prioritized applicants must earn less than 80% of area median income. There will be a focus on households with household members older than 62, younger than 18 years of age, and or are a home to a special needs person or persons and their accommodation requirements. And now I will turn it back over to Tom to talk about our RFQ anticipated timeline.
Thank you so much, Audrey. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the request for quote procurement that will be issued to support the programs that Audrey just elaborated on. These RFQs are going to be specific to both project management to support all programs, housing, hazard mitigation grant match program, and the infrastructure repair program. We're also going to be issuing a request for quote for housing implementation. The timeline anticipated is issuing these requests for quotes around June this month or July next month with an anticipated award of either August or September of 2025. Please. The selected contractor for the housing implementation vendor request for quote. It's responsible for the implementation of the housing repair and replacement program related to long-term disaster recovery for the 2023 and 2024 storm allocations. Florida Commerce intends to begin recovery efforts with the most vulnerable populations and believes strongly in providing first-rate customer service during this recovery, combined with the most robust fiscal accountability of taxpayer dollars. The services and activities that the contractor will provide include yet are not limited to the following: general contractor procurement and comprehensive construction management, customer service center acquisition and staffing, damage assessment, scope development, application processing and homeowner award determinations, overall HRP management and operations. Continue on the next slide, please. Let's talk about requirements of the HRRP vendor. The awarded vendor is expected to provide a qualified and experienced network of CDBG DR subject matter experts to augment the Office of Long-Term Resiliency's in-house administrative implementation team. The awarded vendor is expected to develop and execute an implementation plan to deliver the desired outcomes of Florida Commerce. The awarded vendor will manage homeowner eligibility and award operations, as well as procure, contract, and manage Florida licensed general contractors to deliver quality residential construction outcomes in accordance with local building codes. Next slide, please. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the desired outcomes of the second RFQ for a project management vendor. The project management vendor will be responsible for oversight of all programs, as mentioned before, covered under the 2023 and 2024 storm allocation, hazard mitigation grant match program, infrastructure repair program, and the housing repair and replacement program. Next slide, please. So now we'll talk a little bit about the vendor-specific requirements under two of the three listed programs, infrastructure repair and hazard mitigation grant match program. Management reporting, which will include a compilation of periodic reports on implementation progress, provide recommendations on removal of impediments or barriers. Eligible activity review, which includes a compilation of periodic reports on implementation progress, provide recommendations on removal of impediments and or barriers. National objective review, assist the subrecipient program areas as needed with a review of projects meeting a national objective requirement, and technical assistance, providing CDBG DR specific technical assistance as needed in assisting subrecipients with conducting and completing the required environmental assessment. Next slide, please. To view a copy of the request for quote, both requests for quote, which are not yet available to view on our website as we have not issued them yet, Once this bid is officially issued, you will find a copy of them on the floridajobs.org/2023 and 2024 storms website. As mentioned before, our timeline to issue this RFQ. These RFQs are either this month, June of 2025, or next month, July of 2025, with anticipated award dates of August or September or September of 2025. Updates regarding the state action plan, which has now been approved. Programmatic statuses and more will also be posted on Florida Commerce's social media platforms and the website just mentioned, and sent via email from the 2023 and 2024 storms email domain. Last slide, please. If anybody who attended the webinar today has any questions or comments regarding this presentation, you can contact the listed individuals, including myself and my Deputy Chief Audrey Irwin, at our email addresses. You can also reach out directly to the 2023 and 2024 storms at commerce.fl.gov email domain, of which everyone listed on that slide receives your inquiries, comments, and questions. The RFQ is issued. All questions related to the procurement and the bids should be directed towards floridacommerce.purchasing@commerce.fl.gov. I'd like to thank everybody for their time today. That will wrap up our webinar on the 2023 and 2024 storms, desired RFQs, and vendors to support our 2023 and 2024 storms programs. Thank you so much for your time, everyone.
Thank you.